following the Bella? Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be rolling right on into some rustic farmhouse fall decor, so let's get started with project number 1. And when I say rolling, I mean rolling. We're going to start in with some long paint sticks. This is about a 1x1 square dowel. You can have whatever size you want. It's just a scrap piece I had. These are the two like slender boards you can get from Dollar Tree. Any board you want will work. This is one of those thick wood circles from Dollar Tree, whatever wood circle you want work. Dowel, whatever size you want. And then this is just trim board that I actually got at Habitat for Humanity. You can get it at any hardware store. It's about 1/2 inch thick. And then I've got about 1 inch wide. And again, you can do whatever size you want here. So what I've got here, this is a shorter, thicker board from Dollar Tree. I don't want to use it because it is too thick, but I like the length of it. So I'm just marking it on the thinner boards from Dollar Tree so I know where to cut. All right, this board, I wasn't sure at first, but I do end up cutting them down to about 3 inches long, 2 pieces. All right, now on the long paint sticks, you could use short paint sticks. I'm choosing long, and then if I mark them at 8 3/4 inch pieces, I can get 2 pieces per long paint stick. If you choose short pieces, you just need more than 7 sticks to start with. So here I am outside just using my mini table saw, and I'm just cutting my boards down here. I'm not going to bore you with cutting every single one, but cutting some of the major ones. So cutting my 2 thin boards first, then I'm coming into my paint sticks. Obviously, I can cut 14 paint sticks out of my 7 paint sticks, but I only need 13 paint sticks. And I will have the measurements down below in my description box as well. And you may choose to alter this as you like. You might want a bigger wheelbarrow than we're making, rolling into a wheelbarrow, or you might want a smaller one, but hopefully you could use this design to kind of, inspire you to make your own. Now we're working into this nice pile, not to the back or to the right, but right here in the center of sanding everything. I don't want any words on my paint sticks, so I'm sanding that off. And then all my boards, the sharper, straighter edges, I'm rounding those off so that all my wood pieces are rounder around all, the areas of course. And again, you can make this whatever size you want. I do end up making this taller. You might want to go a little bit shorter because, the height of my 2 main boards are 5.5 inches tall. You might want to go down to maybe 4 inches tall. But I wanted to make taller in case I had bigger things to put in my wheelbarrow. I have lots of room. Okay, so that was just the main thing and why I chose that height. And plus, I didn't have to cut down that 2 Dollar Tree boards any more than just down one side. All right, so now I'm taking antique wax mixed with water, and I'm going to stain every piece. And then once I'm done staining outside, I go back out to sanding once again. Sanding is my friend today. Once I'm done sanding everything, it's not my friend today, but you get the drift, and I won't bore you with any more sanding. But I want it to look all distressed. And you could paint your wheelbarrow any color you want. I almost went white, but then I thought I'm just going to do stain because then I can go in with any colors I want inside. So now what we're doing here is I just want to take a look-see before we actually get started assembling. So I have my paint sticks that would be on the bottom and my 2 main boards that would be the front and the back. Okay, so now we're going to take those 2 main boards off and we're going to look at it from the underside view. Okay, so I have the 2 short little legs that are about 3 inches. They're going to go 1 on each end here. I want to show you how the wheel assembly is going to work. So 1 on each end, just like this. And then we're going to take those 2 long boards, and I've marked them here at about, I think let me measure here, 4.5 inches. And where I've marked them, that mark is going to go right at the end of those paint sticks on the right side. Okay, so here we'll go right here. Okay, and it's going to touch, the left end is going to touch, and it's going to be about 5 inches extended. It's going to touch that short main board, that short 3-inch board, and come in at a diagonal to that second board in on each side. I'll show you what that looks like, making sure this lines up there. And you can go however far out you want your boards to be, but that's what I did. So 4 inches is sticking out the front, 4.5 inches, 5 inches sticking out the back, and it's going to kind of look like that. And then we're going to do the same on the other side, but the opposite. And then, of course, the wheel will go in the center at the front on the right side. Okay, that's what it's going to look like on the bottom. I wanted you to get a look-see. Here's the wheel. So what I've done is I've marked the wheel in the center here, so you can see my line right there. Okay, and the ends of these 2 long boards are going to mark at this line here, which is about 3/4 inches away. But the dowel is going to come through the center mark of that circle. Is that understandable? So here comes my dowel. It's going to go at that center mark. That's kind of how I did it. So again, just wanted you to get a look-see from the bottom edge because I thought it would be easier to assemble. And my husband is going to just kind of use his drill press to drill the holes. Now, if you don't want to mess with drilling a hole, you could just kind of take these 2 inner corners here, sand them off flat, and then wood glue them to your wheel, because the other end, the left side, the way they splay out and they're connected to those 2 short 3-inch legs, it's going to hold those longer sticks at the right side right against that wheel really tight, so wood glue should work perfectly. Okay, so hopefully that's understandable. Now let's start assembling. I am now on the bottom. I'm just kind of laying my 2 boards here. You can see how wobbly it is. And I'm gluing my 5 paint sticks across the bottom. All right, and they're probably about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch apart. And then I'm going to use some tiny little, these are like, 3.5 inch nails, I think they are. And I'm just going to do 2 nails on each end of the paint stick. So it's going to be nice and sturdy in there, nice and stable. I didn't want to just rely on wood glue because it's such a thin area, but I didn't want to just rely on the nail either. I wanted a combination of both, but whatever you're comfortable with, if you just want to nail it in, you go with it. It's just decoration, not really meant to be used, obviously. So, just make sure it holds up to what you want to put inside of it. Okay? All right, finishing up the nails here, and then I'll give you a good look at it. Plus, the nails give it a little bit of a rustic look, don't you think? So here's our nails going across here, of course, like you see. And then we're going to come in and do one side with 4 paint sticks. Now, if you wanted to make this shorter, you could go with 3 paint sticks. I almost went shorter. Part of me thinks maybe I should have went just 3 paint sticks high, but like I said, ended up going 4 in case I wanted to, put something bigger inside or needed more room or whatever. But doing the same thing as the bottom, gluing first, and then I'll come in with the nails. I'm only doing one side right now, and then we're going to tackle underneath the bottom with the legs and the wheel assembly and all that, because if I put the paint sticks on the other side, it's going to be too hard for me to get in with my hammer to hammer down on that bottom to get our stuff in place. Okay, so now I'm gluing in the little 3-inch legs. Now when I put this down here, I'm not all the way, I'm to the end of the paint stick. I'm going to have an arrow here for you. I'm there, not all the way to the edge where the side paint stick joins the bottom paint stick. I'm just at the edge of the bottom paint stick, only you'll see it better over here. I'm just right at that edge because, we don't have the side paint stick there yet. And now what I've got is I already hammered 2 nails in those feet, and I've pre-nailed in some holes to hold our long boards for our wheel assembly, and they're nailed in enough where they're kind of sticking out the bottom a little bit, so they'll kind of act like tacks when I go to put this in. I'm sorry I didn't show you the wheel assembly first, but I'll come back to it and show you it in a minute. So what I'm doing, adding a little glue here right over those nailed areas, and then I'm going to split apart at one end into that triangle form and kind of push it into my nails that are sticking out. Is that understandable? Pull it over to the other side and push it in. Get that in there. And then I can flip it over. You can see what it's looking like. I can flip it over and then hammer in the nails from this side. I'm going to put a piece of wood under it first, though, to give me a little stability to try and hammer here and get those in there. I don't care that, I've got, 4 nails. That's all going to get hidden anyway. So I want as many nails as it makes assembly. All right, now I'm going to come into the other side and go ahead and put my paint sticks on that side. Again, the same thing, just going to go ahead and glue those on there and then nail them in on the side, of course. 2 nails on each end of each paint stick. Okay, and once this is done, we're going to go into showing you the wheel assembly, because I didn't show you like putting it together, but it's pretty explanatory of how it goes together. But, so sorry, this is like after the fact. I thought I was filming it. Apparently not. So again, in review, the front end of my little sticks that hold the wheel are out 4.5 inches, okay, from the edge of the wheelbarrow. And then in the back, they're coming out, remember, right at that edge. And then in the back, they're coming out about 5.5 inches from that edge, okay? Right here, from that edge. The wheel does turn, okay? It's on this dowel here. Nothing is glued in here. Nothing is glued, okay? The dowel measures about 2.5 inches, and my husband and I thought it looked cute, kind of decorative, sticking out a little bit from each side, but you can make it flush. Again, if you don't want to mess with the dowel, or drilling a hole, you can just sand those inner points off and glue them together. But the way this legs go in a V shape, that V shape at the end pushes that front edge together, so it didn't even need glue. I can't even move this dowel. So the way my husband drill pressed it through is he put a stick in through here that measured about the 5.25 inch length. He kind of stuck a stick in there. And then he used a clamp at the front to clamp it together, and then he was able to drill straight through all the pieces, okay? I didn't watch it. He explained it to me. That's how it's done. So hopefully this is understandable. But again, just glue it together. You don't have to mess with the dowel. Now that little spot where I filled in with wood glue there, I just turned it so it's covered by the sticks of the wheel assembly. So here's what it looks like. 2 more things I did was 2 nails right there to the leg to give those long wheel pieces more stability, helps keep both of those stable, nothing's wobbling. All right, I think it looks really cute. So next thing I'm going to do is add in some Excelsior here. I got this for like $1 at a garage sale. You can get Excelsior anywhere. But first, so I don't have to use up so much, I'm just going to crinkle up some brown paper down in the bottom. All right, and then, of course, spread out some Excelsior in there. And then I'll flip it to each side and add just a little bit kind of sticking out the holes down at the bottom to cover up any of that paper because, I don't want that seen. Again, you might like it with the 3 paint sticks high versus 4. I still keep thinking I should have done 3, but I'm going with 4. There's nothing I can do about it now. So you might want to adjust your measurements there. Was this the 3rd or 4th time I told you? You might want to do that. Anywho, once the Excelsior's in there, that makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the final results at the end of the video. I gave you a little sneaky peek. Let's move on to project number 2 and 3. For this project, I'm using these 3 fabrics. I picked them all up at some garage sailing I did recently. You'll see that video come out in a couple of weeks. I'm using blanket for one, of course, 2 fabrics I think are pretty, and a plastic lid that measures about 12.5 inches in diameter for the bigness of my circle. So my 2 fabrics, I cut the circle out at the 12.5 inches. On the blanket, I go just about an inch bigger all the way around. Now, I was intending to make all these upcoming pumpkins we're making. I was intending to kind of put them all in the wheelbarrow except for this sweater pumpkin. And then I think I actually decided more, and I kind of show both looks at the end. I actually like just kind of Dollar Tree pumpkins in there, and then all the fabric cutesy pumpkins we make here today, like out and around the perimeter. I don't know, you'll have to choose. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm using some fishing line here. I like to use fishing line because it does not break and I stuff my pumpkins quite tightly. Now when I make my initial knots at one end of the fishing line, I do about 4 or 5 knots because fishing line is slick, right? And then I pull it really tight. So I'm going to start from the front to the back, inserting my needle and fishing line, pulling it all the way to the knot. Then I'm going to come from the back to the front about a 1/2 inch apart. I'm going to pull it all the way through, and then I'm going to start pleating about a 1/2 inch apart, front to back, pleating the fabric onto my needle. If you need a little bit slower on how to just kind of do this basic like running or gather stitch, whatever way you want to call it, I'll have a link to my blog in the description box. It'll have that video on it for you. It's fairly easy, but we have new sewers, right? So you might want to learn how to do it, but basically, it's just kind of pleating the fabric on the needle, and you can pleat as many times as you want and then pull, your needle through the fabric and continue that process all the way around till you come right close to your little knot on the fishing line where you started. So here I am, I'm like right close to the knot on the left, needle on the right here. I'll pull my, needle all the way through, of course. And then what I'm going to do is just pull the knot out. Okay, and so then you'll have your line that your needle is on and your line that the knot's on, nice long line there. Okay, and just let that sit for a while. I'm going to go ahead and cut my needle off because I'm done with that for now. And then you're going to take and stuff your pumpkin as full as you want to stuff it, and you kind of pull your, as you're stuffing it, pull both your threads at the same time to see if you want more stuffing, that kind of thing. And then go ahead and you can close your pumpkin up. Now if you don't want to use fishing line, you can use like a heavy duty thread or an upholstery thread or crochet thread or something like that. And you just pull your two pieces of whatever you're closing your pumpkin with, you pull it as tight as, leaving your opening big enough for whatever you're using for your stem. Okay, like if you're using a cinnamon stick or you're using a big stick from the backyard, whatever diameter of your stem is, that's how closed you pull your fishing line, string, thread, whatever you decide to close your pumpkin with. Now I'm bringing in some crochet thread here. I'm using that same kind of long needle from what we just used on our fishing line. It has a large eye opening, and I'm coming through the center of the pumpkin all the way down to the bottom, staying in the center, and I'm going to pull that crochet thread all the way through. Okay, and again, you could use fishing line here, you can use the crochet thread, you could use yarn, whatever you want. All right, and there's a couple of ways to do this. So you can see how I'm wrapping it around the pumpkin, and then I come back through the center, or you can do one section at a time, okay? Either way, so the first time I wrapped all the way around and back up through the center, pull it tight, and now I'm doing one section at a time to show you this. I'm just coming back around the outside, through the bottom, up through the center of the pumpkin. Then I'll go around the outside again, back up through the bottom, up through the center of the pumpkin. See, now we're doing one section at a time. Again, around the outside, up through the bottom, through the center of the pumpkin. Okay, and you just continue this process for as many segments as you want. I usually go odd number, around 5, and then when I'm done, I'll just take my needle and thread and I'll just kind of pull it through some of that excess fabric in the center, pull it through a couple of times, and then knot it off and then cut off the excess. Okay. All right, so now I've got some thick twine. This is larger diameter twine you can get at Walmart. I am cutting 14 pieces, okay? And I just did a big long chunk. I'm going to say they're probably at least 12 to 14 inches long. You can make them as long as you want them. They end up a little longer than I want, and I cut it off, and that's fine. I set 2 pieces over to the side, and I'm going to gather up the other 12 pieces, okay? And I'm going to make them all even at one end. Okay, and then about 2 inches down from one end, I'm taking one of the pieces I set to the side, and I'm going to wrap it around the end and glue it down. Okay, and then once that's set, I'm going to start braiding the twine that's hanging down, and I make 3 sections of 4 pieces of twine a piece, and I braid all the way down to probably maybe, I don't know, 5 inches or so. And then I'm going to take the last piece of twine here. I didn't know why I didn't show it on the first part, but here's the second one. And you can see I'm just wrapping it around and kind of gluing it in sections until I get as, thick of a wrap as I want. And then I'll cut off the excess. All right, and then I'm going to use just a little Dollar Tree clamp here to hold that in place so I can work on something else while that glue's setting up. It only takes about a minute, but it's an extra hand to help me out. So now I'm back at the top where we originally started, and I want to take each of those pieces of twine and just unravel them and let them look all frayed and everything. And I love how the stem turns out. I actually think it would be really cute. Those of you that like Halloween, it would make a really cute kind of Halloween stem, but this is a fall stem today. And then I'm pressing it all out. And now I'm taking a piece, just a long chunk of 18 gauge wire you get from Walmart. I was about ready to say Dollar Tree. And I'm just running that piece of wire through the braided area. And there's going to be a nice excess coming out that bottom that we unraveled. And I don't cut that excess off. Here, I'll get back here on camera. Here we go. I just start bending it back and forth. And I leave it there. It's probably about 2 inches or so of wrapped wire, just kind of back and forth like this, because what that's going to do is give me something to glue into the center of our pumpkin with. Is that understandable? Now I'll go ahead and clip off the excess, and I'll just add a bunch of glue around the top fabric of the pumpkin and on that little wire stem we made, so to speak, and then I'll plop that right down into our pumpkin here. And it'll kind of spread out, you know, our little frazzled ends there. Super cute. And then we're going to do the same thing at the other side. Of course, take off your clamp. I'm going to cut these down a little bit to about probably 1.5 inches or so. And then I'll start unraveling these as well so it matches the other side. Yes, I just love how this turned out. And unraveling, I just think gives it a little more personality. You don't have to unravel, but I like the way it looks. And then once all that is unraveled, we're just going to kind of shape our stem. And that makes this pumpkin complete. Give you a little peek here, and we'll take a look at final results at the end of the video. Isn't that the cutest stem? Love it. Let's move on to our pumpkin number 3 here. So my pumpkin's ready to go, stuffed, sewn, whatever. We already know how to do that. And now I'm starting with my crochet string through the top of the pumpkin, down through the middle, and coming out the bottom. We're going to do a section at a time here. I'm going to wrap it around once, and then come back through the center, and then out through the bottom again. I wanted to show you this way how just doing it all the way around like this, one section at a time. Wrap it around, through the center, down through the bottom. Now, when you come out through the bottom, try not to have your thread come out the same hole every time, especially if you have thin fabric. I don't have mine. I come out in the general vicinity, but not, you know, out the same hole. That way it doesn't rip and make your hole bigger or something if you're trying to pull your sections tight, that kind of thing. And then again, I just go through some edges of fabric there, and I knot it off when my sections are done. And then you can kind of move your thread around as you need to. Okay, now for this one, I'm going to bring in, I wasn't sure here, I've got like pumpkin, a couple of wood leaves. I end up using a wood leaf and a cinnamon stick that I cut down to about 4 inches. I'm going to pop that in the center. And then this is going to be just a real easy pumpkin, adding some glue and some moss around it. Moss and stuff helps kind of hide all that extra excess fabric at the top, right? And then I'm just kind of using some ink here and inking up one leaf. I just wanted to show some real easy, simple ways to decorate pumpkins. We've probably all seen it, but there you go. And I pop that leaf in there to the side of a cinnamon stick. I'm using some of that big twine again we just used on our first pumpkin, made it into a bow. I'm going to pop that down there next to the bottom of the cinnamon stick, and I'm going to add a couple of beads, one on each end. Of course, tie a knot at the end of each bead because we don't want our bead to fall off. All right, so that'll make this pumpkin complete. I'll give you a little peek-see, but you know the drill. We'll take a look at the results at the end of the video. Isn't this kind of cute? Nice and easy. Love that fabric I got at a thrift sale. Let's move on to project 4 and 5. So quick and easy because I've got my pumpkins in, I've got the sections in. We already know what we're doing here. And I just wanted to make some smaller pumpkins as, you know, I was thinking originally to kind of fill in the gaps of the wheelbarrow. So I just do a couple of sticks, a bigger one and a smaller one. Both of these came in a, you know, bag of sticks from Dollar Tree. Then I'm just going to add a little glue around the top, and we're going to add a little moss. But I love making tiny pumpkins like this. They're probably about maybe a 4-inch diameter pumpkin, really super easy and cute, and they just make great filler whether in dough bowls or on tiered trays or in a wheelbarrow. And then on one of them I've just got a nice 1-inch kind of thick piece of crochet trim. I'm just going to tie it around the stem just like a little half knot, not even in a full knot, just like that. And then I've got a little button here, and I just add some twine into it and make a little bow on the front of it and glue that right in the center of that crochet trim here. And then the other one, I take 2 pieces of thinner twine and tie it in a bow, glue that down at the end of the stem, and I use a couple of mini pine cones. You can get these fall time at Dollar Tree, bag of pine cones. I glue a couple on there. That makes these pumpkins complete. We'll take a look at the results. You can say it with me at the end of the video. Okay, have you had enough pumpkins yet? No? All right, let's move on to our last one, number 6. For this pumpkin here is my sweater pumpkin. Again, it's about 1 inch bigger in diameter than the first 2 we started, and I've got my sections in there. I did everything the exact same, and I've got a little bit bigger hole here, and I'm going to use this I found at a garage sale. It was $1, and I'm just going to add this into the top. It doesn't quite fit all the way in. I mean, I'm shoving it in, but it's okay because you know I'm going to add some moss around the top. I just get it in till it's straight, and then I add my moss to cover up everything in there and cover up all the excess sweater around the top. And then this is like a vintage piece of lace, you can see the staining on it. I just tie it into like a little knot, and I'm going to glue that to that little thing there. All of a sudden, I can't remember what those are. It'll come to me later when I'm not trying to think about it. And I've got just like some burgundy plaid ribbon tied in a bow. Glued that at the base there as well. And then I'm adding some twine to the center of some buttons, about 4 buttons I think I use here. And I'm going to take 2 buttons and I'm going to glue onto the tails of that vintage lace there, just because I thought it'd be fun. And then I'm making a twine bow out of that thicker twine we've been using. I'm adding some big wood beads here. I got these wood bead garland at Hobby Lobby last year. Of course, I'll tie a knot at the end of the twine there to let those beads stay on there and kind of smush the ends. And I'm leaving the tails a little bit longer here. And then I'm going to add some white pip berries right on top of that ribbon, and then go ahead and glue my twine bow over the pip berries. And then I'm going to cover that up with a little decorative button. These buttons are decorative from scrapbooking, and I love it because the writing and stuff on it. Put that on there, ink up the ribbon a little bit, and that makes this rustic vintage looking pumpkin complete. So I hope you enjoyed rolling into fall projects today. I mean, we really rolled in with making our own mini wheelbarrow. Yes, I know we came in with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, count them, 5 pumpkins. And I know there's been a lot of pumpkin making out there already this year. I'm going to be making more pumpkins. You're going to watch them. But hey, we started with a wheelbarrow. And that makes all the difference. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which project was your favorite. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, you came to the right place. Before you click off, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Now, before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Every good and perfect gift comes from Jesus. He is present with us every moment, and our thoughts and attitude toward these gifts should be placed in high regard with gratitude, as Jesus continually bestows these gifts in our favor. His gifts have significant meaning whenever we receive them, and we always get them exactly when we need them most. The things of this world do not compare to the gifts Jesus offers us. In times that are difficult, Jesus will always hand us his gift of strength. When quitting seems to be an easy choice, Jesus follows up this gift of strength with his gift of hope. When we feel discouraged, Jesus allows the Holy Spirit to offer up words of wisdom that provides the gift of comfort to our soul. And when we feel lost, he offers his gift of guidance to carry us home. When situations seem out of control, Jesus offers his throne, a gift beyond compare. In the Bible, the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verses 2 and 3, it states, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, sat down at the right-hand throne of the Father. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart." In breaking down these verses, we can immediately see that Jesus considered it joy to come to earth and give us a way back to the Father. Next, we see that he scorned the cross, meaning he chose to ignore the shame that the cross would bring him and instead focused on the salvation that his death would give us. Lastly, we see that when it was all finished, he sat down on the throne next to the Father on the right side, allowing us to step closer to him without a veil as he opened his heart and bestowed upon us his gift of love. So as we walk through any uncertainty, we must put our full confidence in him and consider this: we are saved by his grace, being both miraculous and powerful, in which our faith in him brings about his gift of joy, a fullness that can only be obtained in his presence. And in his presence, this is where our victory will certainly be found. In the Bible, the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 15 and verse 58, it says, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm, let nothing move you. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 57 it says, "Thanks be to God, He gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ." If you think about it, victory is His ultimate gift. It's the result of pushing through and standing firm as we hold on to Jesus while He holds on to us. So let's do what His Word says and fix our eyes on Jesus, because His gift of victory is our freedom. Freedom from the author and perfecter of our glorious faith. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.